Can't buy me love, love.
Welcome back to the Price of Business television show on the Biz TV network, also on Business Talk 1110 in Houston, Texas. Delighted to continue my conversation with Natalie Johnson. She is with the Daily Signal, which is a news site, which is part of the Heritage Foundation family. And we need more of those sites like that. You know, I'm involved with a website called usdailyreview.com, which is basically an internet newspaper in the tradition of Huffington Post with a very different editorial bent. And we need more of these, don't you think, Natalie?
Oh, yes, certainly.
We really do, and there needs to be a competition. Competition makes everything better, including in the area of ideas. And the fact that there is such a pervasive, prevailing worldview in colleges and universities, I don't see how that benefits really anyone.
Right, and I spoke to 3 professors from universities across the United States, and all 3 of them agreed with this. They may have had differences in how to fix the problem, but all 3 are saying this is a massive problem with students now coming out of college, not being exposed to conservative ideology and being overexposed to liberal ideology. What's interesting is that this is most pervasive in the humanities and social science fields, which obviously are the most important areas to have that battle of ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And so where people are supposed to be sitting there arguing or debating different ideas, they're not doing that, and they're instead only hearing one side of the issue.
Yeah, no question about it. And it's an extremely challenging situation when I think about parents who work very hard to accumulate the money to make sure their young person, their children, can go to college, and they're ending up getting their values sabotaged, the things that they try to teach their kids, usually by the end of their freshman year. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, and that's what the study from the Higher Education Research Institute reported, was that students actually are coming out of college 9.1% more liberal than when they started. So, I mean, that is a pretty decent shift in ideology. The other thing that I found interesting with this study is that while professors have become notably more liberal, students certainly are more liberal when they're freshmen, but only by 10%. Whereas more than half are identifying as moderate. So this is creating just this massive gap between students and what they're thinking and their professors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so by the end of 4 years, that changes significantly, correct?
Oh, yes. Again, by 9.2%.
Yeah.
So this is, we could be reaching 10% by the end of this year. We never know. But this is a trend that isn't slowing, according to the professors I spoke to.
You know what's interesting, though, is there's a part of me that kind of thinks that there's going to be a reaction formation type of thing that, from not to sound like a psychiatrist, because I'm not one, nor do I play one on TV, but, this idea that at some point you're going to get a lot of people who are going to realize, Winston Churchill tradition, if you're under 25 and conservative, you have no heart, and if you're over 25 and liberal, you have no brains, that at some point they're going to really realize how indoctrinated they are, and they're going to come back with a vengeance on some of this. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I definitely think it's something interesting to look into. I mean, I just graduated college not even a year ago. So I'm fresh out of this. I was political science and journalism, and I can name 2 people in political science who were Republican voters, and pretty much none in the journalism field who were. So I know that this was really frustrating to me going into it, because my views weren't necessarily being represented. But beyond that, my liberal counterparts weren't being challenged in their views. And so it was a little bit frustrating. And I know looking back, this is certainly something I will be paying attention to in terms of donations, in terms of voting. And I think it's something that other students and parents specifically, and donors especially, need to be looking into, is whether they want to give their money to these institutions that aren't making a concerted effort at balancing this spread out.
By the way, Natalie, where did you go to school? Where did you go to school, Natalie?
Oh, sorry. I went to James Madison University in Virginia.
Yeah. See, I went to Abilene Christian University, which, people would think, oh, that's, and it's considered very conservative by larger academic standards. Both times the student newspaper endorsed Barack Obama. And so to me, it's kind of shocking out there. And you and I could probably name on 2 hands institutions that really are competitive when it comes to ideas, when it comes to conservative institutions. We're going to talk a little bit about that with Natalie Johnson in the third and final segment of today's program for the Price of Business TV. And again, Natalie Johnson, she is with the Daily Signal, and this is The Price of Business. Best content here finds itself over there at usdailyreview.com. Make sure you check that out. Stay tuned for more.
This is Business